5 o'clock p.m. We'll go ahead and we'll get started with our Public Safety Committee meeting. The date is June the 30th and the time is now 5 o'clock p.m. Let us all bow our heads for our invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening for allowing us to come together to conduct the business of the people of Selma, Alabama. Heavenly Father, we all have so much to be thankful for. We are grateful for life. We are grateful for another day of life. And we're grateful for another opportunity to serve your people. Heavenly Father, this evening we ask that you please direct the actions of this committee. Allow us to make those decisions that are in the best interest of all of the people of this community. Heavenly Father, we pray a special prayer, since we're here for public safety, for all of the individuals that have been victims of crimes, Heavenly Father. For God in heaven, we know that you have us, that you're taking care of us, that you're protecting us. But we also know that there are people in this city that are hurting. So God in heaven, we ask that you please offer some relief and comfort to those that are grieving. And God, please continue to protect the men and women that are part of law enforcement, not just in this city, but in this entire country. We ask that you protect the men and women that are protecting and serving. Heavenly Father, this evening we ask for direction, we ask for guidance, and we ask for your leadership. For we ask these and other blessings in your precious Son, Jesus. Let us all say amen. 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 At this time, let us all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Everyone, you may be seated. As stated earlier, we are here this evening for a Public Safety Committee meeting. We originally had a meeting that was scheduled for Friday. However, we had to postpone that meeting and schedule it for today to take care of a few matters under public safety. The first item on our agenda are updates from the Selma Police Department for both Chief Fulford and our Assistant Chief. Chief Fulford, I am aware of, has another engagement, so I asked him to come first, and once he completes his presentation, he will have to leave. So good evening, Chief.
Good evening to everyone. A few things I'm going to put out. First, we have 3 that are in the academy, and well, tomorrow's the first, so this is next month will be their last full month at the academy. They'll be graduating in August. Also, we have 3 in the pipeline that we are currently working on to get hired on. One of my main concerns is, and what I'm always thinking of, is officer safety. And I brought it up at our last public safety meeting, and I'm going to reiterate this about Facebook. People have well intentions when they say go check on your family members, but I want the public to understand this right here. If there are officers on a murder scene, let's just use the recent one out at Rangeley. If every person that lived at Rangeley was on that scene and someone put out, go check on your family, now you've gone from maybe 60 people to maybe 200 to 300 people, because everybody is out there trying to check on their loved one. And that is a serious officer safety issue. Like I said, however, it may be well intended, but at the same time, if there is a body, someone loved one laying on the ground, that's not a good feeling for that family. So what is going to end up happening is you're going to put officers in a situation where they're going to have to try to keep that family member back, but then also you got 200 or 300 other people out there that are Facebook Live, and people don't want to see their family member laying on the ground on Facebook. That is not how they want to find out. So my concern is, and I want the people of Selma to understand, because it's not just Selma, it's everywhere. Be careful when you put this information out, because like I said, you're putting officers in a situation that they really don't have to be. Let's be considerate of not only the officers, but the family members of these people, because whether we know it or not, it's not only the victims' families that is hurting during this time, but it's gonna be the offender, because at some point, we are going to arrest someone, and now you got two different sets of families that are hurting it, but then when you post that stuff out there like that, you have put everybody in a situation, and then that's when you have retaliation and other things going on also. So, also, everyone knows, this is the 4th of July weekend. The city does have an ordinance about fireworks being shot inside the city limits. I want to encourage everyone to come to the fireworks show Sunday evening, because that's the only designated place and time for that to take place. And I'm asking everyone to please, ma'am, please, sir, do not shoot your weapons or fireworks during this time. Also, right now I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Chief Muhammad, and he will go into more details.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is my first time addressing the board. I have possibly a totally different understanding of how the board works. So what I did, what I have here, brother, passing out to everyone, is a copy of the hierarchy for the Selma Police Department. And what that is how many officers are actually a part of, or members of the police department, and where they actually located. When we talk about public safety, and we talk about how we're going to protect the city, and how the officers and how this board can assist with public safety, we have to talk about officer presence. Right now, you have in front of you a list of 31 officers. And if you start with administrations, you see the chief is there, you see I'm there, and you see that you have Sergeant Curtis there. That's 3 officers that don't patrol the streets. When you go to the next section, you have the Criminal Investigation Division. In that division, you have Captain Faults, Sergeant Gibson, who's medically unable to function as a post officer due to medical issues. You have Sergeant Ray Blanks, Detective Beauty Benjamin, Detective Justin Freen, and Detective Robert Titus. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 officers that are in your investigation division. So, but I want you to really pay attention to the patrol division. And the reason why I'm here and I'm bringing this up, because I received a call from Councilwoman Thomas a couple weeks ago. And she asked me, why do we not see officers patrolling our ward? And I explained to her, you only have 4 officers working. You have a supervisor and 3 patrolmen. That's on every shift. And I want you to see how the numbers work, because there's a misconception in this, I believe in the city government, that you got more officers than what you think you have, and you don't. And the reason why I'm here to say is so you can see the numbers, so we can see what really needs to, how you want to, if you want to really help public safety. So when you go to the patrol division, you go with the A1 shift. I have a Lieutenant Gant there, I have Officer Hayes, Officer Bennett, Officer Jones. You see Officer Jackson, that's the officer that's in the academy. So you actually have 4 officers, and that's a day shift working. That's 1 lieutenant, and that's 3 officers. Now, if that lieutenant calls out sick or has an emergency where that lieutenant can't work, and we can't find someone else to work, that means the chief of police or myself have to go out there and work that detail or work that shift. That means the next day that the mayor and the city government won't have a chief to run the organization, because we had to work out. So that's what that number look like. When you go to the A2 shift, you see you have Lieutenant Fitz, and you see I got a title beside, because we don't know his status. We haven't really had this officer on duty for over 2 months. You have Officer Gaskin, you have Officer Newberry, you have Officer Atkins, and you have Officer Thicklin, who's also another candidate in the academy. So there you have 4 officers, and that's a night shift, which most of your violent crimes are occurring, is at night. Where when you look at the numbers, since you don't have the lieutenant there, you only have 3 officers. You have Gaston, Newberry, and Atkins. So what we had to do, we had to move a detective, which is Sergeant Blanks, from the 5, that make you have 4 detectives, and bring him down to that night shift to cover that shift. Now, if Sergeant Blanks calls out, can't work, Chief, myself, or Captain Falk have to come out and work that night shift. If an officer calls out, we got to try to find someone to come in that's willing to come in at a last minute notice and work that shift. But what you're having is you have an officer burnout, mentally and physically burned out. These officers are working a 18-hour shift trying to maintain the police department. When the officer called out, or they call out in Grove because they just sick and tired, then we in a pickle. Then we don't know what we're gonna do. If we have 2 lieutenants or supervisors call out, we can't cover the shift. Because we don't have the numbers. When you go to B1 shift, which is a day shift, you have Sergeant Crum, you have Officer Johnson, who's out on FMLA, you have Officer Hale, you have Officer Gavan, and you have Officer Davis. So you have 4 officers on that shift. That's 4, and I want you to keep the number 4 because I keep letting you know that it's 4. And I'm gonna go explain why I keep bringing up the 4. When you go to that night shift, B2 night shift, you have Lieutenant Bills, who just lost his wife this month with her battle with Parkinson disease, and he's been a almost 30-year veteran of the police department, and he just reported that he's going to be retired. So now you have Lieutenant Bills, Officer Pennington, Officer Moore, Officer Benjamin, and you have Officer Hodge, who's in the academy. So you actually have that 4 again, which now is 3, because we expect for Lieutenant Bills to retire by the end of August. 1st of September, he'll be gone. So now we don't have the supervision to cover the shift. The reason why I bring up the number 4, and then I go on PAL Center, we have Detective Cowan, I've been knowing him for 19 years, always at Detective Cowan, but Officer Cowan who runs the PAL Center. And then we have another officer that's been out on suspension since 2018. But he's a part of the 31 that everybody think that we have. But I want to show you how that 31 is dispersed throughout the agency, so you can get a real figure of what's going on the streets, why you don't see an officer patrolling your ward, or why you don't see officers up and down Broad Street or on Highland Avenue working traffic and doing all the things that public safety is supposed to do to protect the citizens and the visitors of this city. Now, the number 4, in our city, we break the police department, break the city down in 7 areas. 7. Out of that 7 areas, this is how it works. The further north we go is to Valley Grande to Captain's Corner. The far east we go is to the county jail. We cover all that area. The far west we go is out to Potter Station. And the far south we go is to the Budweiser plant on 8th. That's 4 people trying to cover that amount of area for an entire 12-hour shift. Now, say you get a shooting. Now, all those 4 people, because the lieutenant or the supervisor got to be there, along with the other officers, that they have just left that area to go work a shooting that may take 2 hours or longer, depending on how the crime scene is set up. Then they got to try to call the chief or myself, and we got to try to come out and make up the extra numbers to try to make sure that we can perform that task appropriately. So when you start looking at your numbers and you start looking at why we can't perform the duties that you expect that we do, you can see the numbers for yourself. So that way when you take time out, you got time to breathe and soak all this in, you can sit back and you can actually look at actually where your manpower is. So how can the board, Public Safety Board, support and help the police department? The chief and myself have submitted a competitive pay plan and a competitive benefits package to the mayor's office to the review, get his signature, to get his blessing on to move forward to the council. And how that stuff work, I don't know. I'm new to this assistant chief thing, so I ain't gonna sit here and think I know how government work. I don't. But I do know this, that if we continue in the way we're going, the city of Selma will not have a police department in a year. Right now, we just lost Captain King of 37 years. He leaves today. City would have been 32 officers. That would make it 31. Also, we got 4 guys that waiting to hear from other agencies. That's a whole shift. That's a whole shift of officers. They're preparing to leave. And they're not leaving because they don't like Selma or because the violence is the way it is or they got to work. They're leaving because they don't see that the benefits of continuing to police the city where they're not getting the support they need financially. They are required to work and do more than the public works. When we group them in the same boat and say their job is not as valuable as the guy that cut grass, we're wrong. The guy that cut grass is not finna come in your yard at 2 o'clock in the morning and confront a bird, a prowler, a drug dealer. He's not gonna do that. He's still at home fast asleep, dreaming of all kind of stuff. That police officer is out there putting his life on the line for $15.16. I was just in Destin, Florida, had the opportunity to take the family down there. Whataburger is paying $16 an hour. The county is paying $16 for them to come and work for the county, $1.89 more than the city of Selma. And if you want to check the numbers for yourself, 99% of the officer or deputy that work for the Dallas County Sheriff came from the Selma Police Department, all the way from the sheriff. And he'll tell you he used to be a member of the Selma Police Department. What's happening is to your budget and to your money is this. You are losing officers to other agencies that you don't invest in. You do not have a sustainable agency. People ask me, why did I come back? I came back because I got tired of hearing the same thing, that these guys ain't doing their job. And I believed it. I came back and I believed it. Till I actually got my feet down in the ward and started realizing, no, there's something else wrong here. The officers are responding from government. And I told some people today, I said, I'll probably lose my job after I come from this meeting. But guess what? Failed government and failed leadership had put this department where it is. For the last 19 years, we have been defunding this police department. And somebody need to tell the truth and stop lying to the public. You know, with the Black Lives Matter movement and the police occurred, they said, defund the police, defund the police. Look at the number from the Selma Police Department from 2002 to today's date. They had 6 captains. They had a captain on every division. They had lieutenants everywhere. They had a full traffic division. You don't even have a traffic division. You don't spend thousands of dollars for motorcycles that don't nobody ride. Matter of fact, we finna buy we got some brand new cars gonna stripe up and look pretty on the street. We ain't got people to drive. The people don't want to hear about a new car. They don't want to hear about what equipment. They want to see what can we do to make sure that these officers stay. Because right now, me being military, it's like basic training. We just fit them in, and and they go elsewhere. And they taking that education, they taking that money you invested, and the city is coming and say, hey, we'll buy that contract. Or they tell them, stay there for 2 years. Stay there for 2 years, you honor your contract, we'll pick you up. And so all the time you invest in 2 years is non-void because now that guy's taking the experience and went somewhere else for $2 more. So it's time for somebody to stand up here and tell the truth about public safety. You cannot have community policing with no police. So that's a lie. And I can't constantly sit before the public and lie because they expect for me when I put this uniform on to be forthcoming and truthful at all times because they put their trust in me to do their job, and I'm gonna do it. And I can't lie. Selma Police Department is on fire. We can't be grouped with the fire department. No disrespect to the fire department. We can't be grouped with the fire department. We can't be grouped with public works. We can't be grouped with what other entities you want to group us with. The jobs are totally different. Salaries should be totally different. Right now, I just lost my secretary. I've been on the job 2 weeks. My secretary went to Hyundai. 21 years. She made $9.77. And you got guys coming in making $9, and she been in 21 years. All that experience gone to someone else. And if we don't fix it, if we don't get before the people that hold the purse, that sit here and make sure that budget right, and we don't fix it, it's gonna fall on this board, that council, the mayor, the chief, and myself for that failure. That's who gonna be the last one they're gonna remember was in charge for that failure. So if you wanna help, you wanna know what public safety need, what the police need, we need a competitive pay plan and we need a benefit package that will help to sustain and retain these officers. And one has been submitted. That was the first thing that when I came on board that I did was start working on that pay plan. And one been submitted. I know the mayor has to do the legal part and all that good stuff and get it before the council the right way and everything. But I ask that when it do come, that you seriously look at this because you got officers going to Montgomery. Matter of fact, most of my detectives live in Prattville. They buy houses in Prattville and drive over here. Your money, the city money, the city revenue going to all these cities around us. And as soon as this get to the point where there's that failure, they already sitting on around to take jobs over there. That's a fact. That's the truth. And we gotta stop overlooking that truth. At this time, I'm willing to take any questions. I asked the Lord to be with me because you know I don't like public speaking, but I figured it gotta be said. If the truth gotta be told. And the lie gotta stop.
All right. We'll start with Councilwoman James first. And Councilwoman Thomas, did you have your hand? Okay, so we'll start with Councilwoman James first.
First of all, I want to applaud you for standing in front of us. You stood here and just said that we have to be truthful.
That's right.
So we're here today to discuss and try to move forward to make things better. So we gotta be truthful. And we have officers that are calling and stating that the reason they leaving is because how the morale and how they are being talked to at the police department. So we need to bring out all the issues so we can get everything out at hand, and maybe if something is not right, we correct it, because I know you got some guys that now are trying to leave now. You got some more guys that are trying to leave. And they are not saying they said about pay, but they're also saying about how they're being treated, how they're being talked to, and how they're being looked upon. So we need to address the whole elephant in the room, not just the pay. We need to address everything so we will be able to hit every corner. I have worked at the police department before, so I know how it can get kind of crazy there. But we don't want that to happen. We want to be able to keep the guys we got and get more. So we have to change our tone, or we have to go another way and making sure everybody is treated equal. I'm about that equalness. You know, that's just me, period. I'm just gonna be honest. They are saying that. I don't know whether they came to you, Chief, and said it, but they are saying how they're being talked to and how they're being treated. So we want to nip all that in the bud because we need every last one we have. And we need more. Because we cannot police our areas if we don't have the police officers.
Correct.
And what's gonna happen now, citizens are gonna start taking things in their own hand, and we don't want that because people just gonna be shooting to be shooting. Last 4th of July, I mean, I had calls all night long. Ms. James, can you call the chief? Ms. James, can you call the police? They're shooting cannons, they're shooting this. We don't have anybody to work it. So we just call and just be calling. So if there's something that we can do to come together and talk to the guys, you all talk to the guys, I mean, if they feel like they need to come up here and talk to us, you know, but we need to get it out in the open so we can make our police department what it needs to be. They don't have to go to private, they don't have to go to the sheriff's department. They can stay here, but they need to be getting the pay they need and they need to be treated fairly. And I'm willing to help whatever I need to do to make it to that point. I know they can't make it off this pay they got. They need some more money. If we have crime that need to be paid, these don't need to be paid because we have some serious crime in Selma. And to get a person to do an effective job, you have to pay these folks. You have to pay them. But even though paying them, you have to treat them fairly. So if they're not being respected, guys, we need to get together and respect them folks because, like you said, you all are not on the streets. You've been on the streets, but these guys are on the streets now. And they come off this street and not being, and you talk them to them any kind of way, they're gonna leave.
Thank you, Councilwoman James.
Can
What
I-
what I'll do, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to respond, Assistant Chief, and if Chief wants to say anything, he can have that opportunity as well. Then we will go on to Councilwoman Thomas. So Assistant Chief.
All right, you made some good points. I started back with the department on April the 13th. It takes at least 2 months for an agency to pick an officer up. Those officers are already planning on leaving. But we use deflection a lot in society. We want to deflect on someone else our own agenda and problems and say, they're the reason why I'm doing it. I would take that. I would be that because here's why. And no one in this room has more power than the police. None of you can arrest that man right there but us. These people have the responsibility to be better than any other citizen in this community. Yes, I hold them accountable and I'm stern because we are the agency, we are the backbone of this society. And if we fail it and we abuse our power and we use it the wrong way, it reflects upon the entire police professional and around the country. So yes, when an officer is wrong, I don't beat around the bush like I ain't beating around the bush in here. If you wrong, I'm from the military. It's on the spot correction. See what had happened in the past is that people looked the other way. And they said, it'll fix itself. And now we got so many problems at the police department with some of our personnel that it can't even be resolved. I got a lieutenant that abandoned his job. That when we call him, he don't even talk to us. We got to go to legal measures to deal with this situation. But guess who the problem is when I talk to him? I'm the problem. Why? Because the rules say, if I talk to you, this is the City of Selma personnel rule. If I verbally talk to you, I have to put it in writing. Page 36, rule 8. If I talk to you about an issue, I have to put it in writing. So when I say, hey, you know that what you saying on the radio is inappropriate, I'm gonna need to talk to you. Here's why it's inappropriate. Not only am I listening, but the rest of the community and the public is listening to this also. So yes, I'm gonna correct them. Yes, I'm not gonna beat them around the bush. They don't have mercy when they put your family member in handcuffs. They don't have mercy when they have to use necessary force to conduct an arrest. Yes, I'm gonna be stern and I'm gonna be hard on them. Because with that, and I got to quote Spider-Man on this one, with great power comes great responsibility. They have a great responsibility to be better and do the right thing. So if they want to say I'm the reason that they leaving, I would be the reason, because I'd rather weed out the wrong and keep me to a good guy that's doing right. I had an officer, I said, speak freely. And he called me a butthole, but he used the other word. I said, no problem. I said, you are right, I am that. Because that a butthole is designed to remove toxin from the body. And if you're a toxin in this agency, I'm gonna remove you. So, hey, I was just telling somebody the other day, I said, hey, if you want to use my name and make me be the problem, I can do that. That's why the mayor brought me in. That's why the chief brought me in. Because they figure he got enough thick enough skin, he can handle it. I can't. Because I know I'm doing the right thing. When you right, and you can stand on right, you don't have a problem. And I stand on right every day. Every day I put this uniform on, I stand on what's right. And I make sure that them officers stand on what's right. There's too much stuff going on around society with officers making bad decisions. And I don't want to see one of these officers end up being the next shaving and being a scapegoat for society. Because they fail to follow policy. Or I look the other way. Next thing you know, I'm sitting on the news with them because I failed to do my job as the assistant chief or as a supervisor period. So yes, I'm gonna be hard on, I don't talk to them any kind of way, I'm straightforward with them. These are men and women, these are not children. These men and women carry guns. You make a wrong move and they think you threaten them, they have a right to use whatever force necessary. And then I gotta make sure that they're doing the right thing. So yes, I talk to them like men and women and I'm stern. And I don't play because of that power we have. And we got to be able to manage and use it wisely. I hope I answered that question.
That's why I brought it to you, because I want public and I wanted to know for myself, because, you know, we have to learn to listen and we have to learn to do. And I appreciate your honesty and I just appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Wolf, is there anything you would like to add?
No.
I guess you said it, Assistant Chief. All right, Councilwoman Jamie Thomas.
I would like to say thank you for coming, first of all, because I am one of the people that really deeply been fighting for public safety. And I'm very concerned because I want to know, with all the years I've been here, and I couldn't understand why did our police department come down where it's at this point. And I wanted to hear some of the things that what this body, new government body of the council, that we need to do, because we need, public safety is number one issue in this city. With all the things that we have going on, and with the patrol that we need in our community, if we don't have the staff that we need for our city, that hurts us. Because citizens look at this government body, what we were put here to do what we need to get the job done, to keep our police officers, and also to where they need to be at the standing with their salary. And we understand what you just said. Some of us already have been looking into with other cities what police officers have been getting paid, and some of the things that we need to improve our city. So I stand with you on what we need to do for the city of Selma to make sure that we get the officer we need and their salary to keep them. We cannot afford to lose any more officers in our city because of what we have been having going on in our town. And a lot of voices, a lot of citizens in our city have been voicing about public safety, patrol, more patrol. Like you said, things were put in places, policies are put in places. Things are put in places where some of these things that we can talk about and open up to the community, get them involved more in it by having these public meetings, public safety meetings, and it's what we need. And I stand with what you're saying that we need to do to build our police department and do what we need to increase the salary. We don't need to lose any more police officers. We do not need, we need it.
Thank you. All right, Councilwoman Thomas.
I just want to make a little statement, and it is not a question. But in the council's defense, because I don't like pointing fingers at anybody, and I don't want the public to start pointing fingers at what has happened in the past. You have a new council, and we're here to do the right thing. When we discussed the budget, there was a question asked to the chief because he didn't have any increase in that particular budget. He stated that in the next upcoming budget, that there would be increase. So, and I think the majority of this council, if not all of them, are in support of increase in pay for the public or for the police officers. I know that the fire department has gotten an increase. We're just waiting on the budget. So it's not to say that we're not supporting that. So I want to make that clear. If all the council, we're supporting, because we know that it's going to take money to pay these officers to keep them here, because that is one reason why a lot of them are leaving. It's because of pay. So I just wanted to make that clear.
If I can.
Go ahead.
We need more than just a raise. Here's why. And I always tell my officers, if I tell you something, I'm gonna tell you why, because I want you to learn so you can be able to take my position one day. The last raise was a 10% across the board raise. That hurt hurt the police department. That hurt because the guy that come in from day one, if we hire a guy right now, he makes just as much as a guy been here 15 years. You don't need just a raise, you need a pay plan, which will constantly, annually be able to produce a increase in their salary. And what we submitted to the mayor, and with the mayor, I know we jumped the gun on this, but since we talked, I brought it up, I'm gonna keep going. I submitted a 14-step pay plan at 2.5% per step. The way it'll work is that based on the annual appraisal, right now we do annual appraisal, it doesn't mean squat. It's just a waste of paper because it doesn't assess the officer appropriately for an increase. So if I don't do nothing all year long but show up to work and give you problems, I'm still gonna get the same much as this guy right here regardless. So why I really got to show up to work on time? Why I really got to go out here and hustle? I don't have no incentive to do it, so the hell with it, I'm just gonna do what I do on a regular basis. But with this step plan, it will give the supervision and the agency an opportunity to fairly assess an officer and then to promote professionalism by performance. And the way that plan will work is, if you've been here less than a year, you'll come in at step one, which is the original step, you come in automatically. If you've been here 4 or 5 years, based on your salary, you'll go to step 5. So that's gonna immediately cause increases. So we don't need to wait and say, hey, yeah, we're gonna look at, we wait on something. We got something. I know y'all gonna get in budget talks here shortly, and then you have to have a budget for October 1st. And I wanna be nice and respectful. But if it ain't where it's benefiting this agency, like I said before, I look in a year for you not to have an agency. I cannot consciously sit here and take a salary for $75,000 and tell them guys that's standing outside their door that they ain't worth but $33,000 a year. I'm not a hypocrite. And before I do that, and before I continue to see them guys not receive what they see, I'll get $75,000 back. And y'all heard from me, I would leave because I can't sit here and tell them hold what they got and be a hypocrite. We need to do the right thing. We don't need to keep sitting on it. They have sit on this for almost 2 decades. You don't even have a police department. Can't even function. This is the worst situation that I've seen in my lifetime other than the pandemic. But this is the worst situation. We got to send out letters and ask other agencies to come in and help us police the city of Selma. That's embarrassing. I had the right to put my name on a letter asking for help from other agencies. That's a low for me, because I take pride in my performance, who I am as a person and as a citizen of Selma. It's embarrassing to say I'm from Selma and say we can't even do the right thing here. This is embarrassing. We done had 12 murders, which Mayor, we arrested another murderer today. So the guys out there grinding. So we got 8 arrests out of 12 murders. 12. That's averages to 2 murders a month. And we ain't finna stop. Usually, everybody that been a part of this agency long enough to know when we start hitting double digit, it's finna be a double digit year. So it ain't finna stop. And eventually, that crime and that violence gonna spill over to one of our household, and I guarantee, when it spills to your household, you'll be running up here and have a call meeting to try to figure out how to amend that budget. It's gonna be too late. It takes 9 months to get an officer ready to come out on patrol. 3 months, they gotta go through the hiring process. Then we hire 3 months in the academy, 3 months in the FTO program before they even hit the street. But we're thinking that when we hire a guy, we put him right on the street. We don't do that. They ride with someone. Then that officer got to worry about that trainee. So he can't really focus, she can't really focus on dealing with the issue, because they also got to worry about someone that's fresh in the policing. So now officer safety done win at the highest level. Because now I got to protect you, I got to protect them, make sure they don't pull their gun the wrong way as well. Making sure they don't have a John Wayne or John Wick. I like John Wick. But make sure we don't have that working on our street. So that's the honest truth. We think, it's a misconception that we have all these officers. We don't. We had 6 officers hired on and went to the academy. Day 1, we lost the first one to the runner. So keep up with these numbers. We had 6. Day 1, we lost 1 to the run. Last week, we lost 2 to the firearms training. So we got 3. We already lost 4 officers. That number don't even fit.
Thank you, Assistant Chief. Any other council members need to speak? I'll just say something briefly.
Yes, sir.
All the things that we have go on in this city, all of the events, we're about to get ready for a 4th of July celebration, all of the things that we take for granted, walking out our houses, walking down our streets, driving in our cars, going to Walmart, going to whatever grocery store we need to go to, going to church. All of those things hinge upon us having a safe civilization. We can't enjoy a good quality of life if we don't have an effective police department. And while you all go by the saying protect and serve, we as elected officials have a responsibility to protect the public. I thank you for coming to address this council, this committee this evening. You are here by invitation that we extended to Chief Fulford. I spoke to Chief Fulford on Monday night, and I asked from Councilwoman Jamie Thomas, asked specifically to have you come before us because she knew you would tell it to us straight. And that you have done. You presented us with information that's important. And while the number of officers on here, the number 31 is on here, let's be completely real. We do not have 31 officers based off of the information and the documents. It is extremely difficult. And then you broke down the coordinates and told us how far south you go, how far north you go. That's a lot of land to cover. And you kept saying the number 4. I wrote it down several times. You kept saying 4. But sometimes that 4 really doesn't exist.
There you go.
Because if you have to call the supervisor in and this, that, and the other, you really don't have 4. So Selma, Alabama, citizens of Selma, Alabama, council of Selma, Alabama, we got a huge problem. But the first thing you do with the problem is you what? Admit that you have a problem. And that we do. And that's why we've convened this meeting of the public safety. I also asked Chief Fulford in that discussion, I said, now is the time for the police department to ask us for anything they need. Because Selma's in a need. We're in a crisis mode. When you have people have their homes shot up in the middle of the day, you got a problem. Innocent people, anybody, sitting in their homes can be a victim at any time. Anytime somebody gets shot, I think it could have been me, or it could have been my loved one. So this is not just puffery that this council is offering. This is not just lip service. Because every last one of us know, let's be honest, we all know that we can be a victim of crime when we walk out of this building tonight. We all know that. So you have said not only a pay increase, but a benefits package as well. And you have submitted something to the mayor's office. And then the mayor will eventually present it to us. And once that is presented, it will be taken up for full discussion.
Thank you.
Backward and forward. So that, I will say, will come before the full council once that plan. But I'm glad that the public is aware that we are not just sitting on our hands. We are addressing this problem. We are not just sitting on our hands. We are addressing this problem because it's time to address the problem. We've got to take care of the officers that we have now, and we've got to increase the number of officers that we have. I see it as a twofold type situation. We got to take care of the family that we have now, and we've got to grow the police family. And I'm hoping that we will be able to do that. Everyone, thank both Chief Fulford and thank you so much. We will get to work on that. We also have tonight with us a representative from our fire department, because we know that when our dwellings catch on fire, we don't call just anybody, we call the fire department. So Interim Chief Sharp, will you please come forward, sir?
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Everybody. Got one update. We have an update on the Short Griffin fire. Talked with the investigators. They got the evidence back from the lab. Came back negative for any accelerants. But this time they still had to rule it as undetermined. They have no evidence to say that it was arson at this time. Pretty much other than that, it's on the regular. Same old, same old. We did lose. We're gonna lose 3 firefighters this month. The other ones. July 4th will be the third on the last shift. 2 have already resigned. They relocated, 2 relocated, and this one is going to another bar.
How many you have at this point?
I put it down to about 28.
And I know you may not have all this information. Since the beginning of this year, January 1, about how many fires have we had?
223. I'm sorry, 223 calls we've answered. Not all fires.
I have a question. With the fires that we have had in some of the areas, with the fire investigator, how many in Ward 7 that has been completed and determined on what caused the fire? You know, we had a couple of reasoning over in our area that we were waiting to hear.
Well, just to update you on short riff, they don't know. It's still root undetermined. They just knew it wasn't arson. They can't say it was arson. No evidence to support it was arson. So it could be on short riff. They might think it could be a wiring issue or the old house. You know, there's a lot of damage. So there's nothing they can say 100%. They can only speculate on that call right there.
We had some where were abandoned houses that were set on fire.
Yeah, no, that's
Back
all.
here, it's been, I believe, approximately maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. We had where they were setting the abandoned houses on fire, burning them down. You know, we got residents staying next to me. And we never heard any more. You know, people were questioning. You know, when we have houses in the community that no one stays in, and you know, it's warm now. And it was like someone just set them on fire. And people, it was having a lot of people afraid of late at night, the fires was being started. So that put us, on a lot of us in the community, on edge. Because when you have these houses next to you and no one living in it and they're abandoned and you sleep. So I was concerned, I just wanted to, do you have an update list for us where each ward where we have had these fires in our area, that where the investigator have completed or anything like that?
I don't have that list on me.
No, I'm just saying, but do you have
But
a
I
list?
can get that info for you, that's no problem.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Thomas.
Let me ask you, what is it going to take to bring in more firemen? Because I remember specifically when we talked with you during the budget period that, you know, you presented with some increases and those were awarded. So what is it gonna take now to increase our fire department?
Well, to be honest with you, I know we just got a raise, but more money always pulls you. I mean, they always, and I'm not asking you for more money, I'm just saying people leave to go for more money than what they get here. The increase we asked for was designed to try to hold on to some of the guys we had. Not so much draw, but just try to hold on to some of the guys they had, so they could eventually move up in the ranks and we can fill all the vacancies we have. We have multiple captain positions open, multiple lieutenant positions open, multiple sergeant positions. We got 3 battalion chief positions still open. So we got a lot of positions, and we was just hoping that money will let these guys stay here, focus on moving up in the rank so we can fill those positions.
Okay. So are you doing anything in particular to try to get more firemen?
Well, I've hired two guys, they have to go to school. They're going to school in September, and I got 3 more currently I'm waiting to hear back from now. CPAC test from tomorrow, and then I have to do the background check. So it's a process.
And Chief Sharp, and I'm not trying to let a cat out of the bag, but I've been having some discussions with individuals within some of the school systems, the local school systems, and they are going to be coming to you in the near future. They pitched an idea about an academy, a firefighter academy for those young people that are in the school systems now that have an interest in firefighting. They're looking, while this might not solve our immediate problem, this might give us a crop of young people that can serve this community as firefighters in the near future. And I have provided them with your information because I can just tell them the word firefighter, but you live the life of a firefighter.
But we used to do that.
So, yeah.
We go to school, back to talk to the kids,
Right.
and try to get sophomore, seniors, or juniors that, you know, was kind of on the fence on what they was gonna do.
Right.
When they graduated, and we used to do that, years ago, and they just cut that out.
And I remember when I was a student, I had classmates that were interested in that program, and I think some of them might still be firefighters now. But anyway, they'll be coming to you soon with an idea about that. But I appreciate you as well coming forward tonight, and whatever we can do to help the recruitment efforts, let us know. And also, it seems like your situation is very similar to the police department.
Yes.
We got to sustain, hold what we have, and grow.
Yes.
And so that too we'll be taking a look at. But thank you for coming for us. And y'all give him a round just like we gave Assistant Chief. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Okay, now we're under unfinished business. And council members, I emailed you all, but I'm also just passing that out. You all remember at our last public safety meeting, we did discuss the Selma Civilian Review Board, and we knew that we need to make a couple of additions. We needed to add city council, and so we have updated the information. We've already voted at our last public safety committee meeting to recommend this to the council to approve the Selma Civilian Review Board, and we made some additions. We included that this board would have to report to the Selma City Council on a quarterly basis all of those police complaints that they received. And this came from the public. The public wanted us to address complaints and allegations against the police department. And so to be fair, we got together and we created this Selma Civilian Review Board. We approved it at our last meeting, and we're making those additions, and also we placed another addition in there to include a confidentiality provision within there. So a person who is selected to serve on the Selma Civilian Review Board must also take a confidentiality oath in which whatever is discussed, whatever comes up during the course of an investigation has to remain confidential. And just a brief thing, the Selma Civilian Review Board will consist of 11 individuals, one appointment from the mayor, one appointment from the council president, one appointment from each member of the council, and also one appointment from the chief of police. And these individuals will serve for 2 years. After 2 years, they will have an opportunity to be back up for reappointment, or they may be replaced. And they will have to meet and investigate various complaints that have been made against the police department. And they will also create a situation where there's public reporting. So they're going to be charged with creating a public reporting system. And Selma leads in a lot of ways, but we looked at other cities and what they were doing. And that's how we came up with this particular plan. But it will be recommended to the full council at our next work session. And I just want the council to have those additions. Any questions? Any questions? All right, thank you, council. The next item under unfinished business is our fire chief appointment. We spoke to interim Chief Sharp this afternoon. We do need to have a permanent fire chief selected. And it's my recommendation to the committee that we follow the same procedure that we have enacted with our other council appointments. And that is to post and then go through the interview process, a committee of 5 appointees, 1 appointment from the mayor, and 4 other appointments that we come up with. And that's my recommendation to this committee, is that we follow those same procedures that we've already enacted for the other appointments. Is there any discussion or any questions about that? Any questions? All right, so we'll get started on that very soon, hopefully at our next work session. And this is so that we won't have so many other agenda items. As you see, we will be working a lot on public safety at our next work session. So just keep that in mind as you create your agenda items. But we'll be talking about the appointment and coming up with those 4 other names and go from there. Any other questions? Thank you, council. Now, at this point, we had recommendations from the Selma Police Department to decrease crime in our community. I see that both chief and assistant chief have left us now, and I don't see any other representatives of the police department here, but I believe it was very clear that he wants us to take some form of action on the plan that has been presented to the mayor. And I believe he thinks that that will help curb some of the crime. But also, one of the things that we have talked about to help with the relationship between the police department and our community is our community and police department need to know each other better. And one of the ways that we think that we can improve the relationship, and I emailed you all this document as well, is to create a community liaison between the police department and the city. And he came up to us at the last public safety meeting and did an outstanding job explaining some things to us. And I just want him to briefly come back, because some of you all may not have been here at the last meeting, but I want him to come back briefly to talk, and then I'm going to discuss a possible relationship between this individual and the city of Selma. So Mr. Mark Neely, well, will you please come forward and just, for those that haven't met you yet, introduce yourself, please.
How's everybody doing? My name is Mark Neely. Just a little background on myself. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. I have a master's in counseling psychology. I did 8+ years at Selma Police Department, where I left and did some entrepreneurial things in 2019. What I have, what the committee has, and what they're looking at is a contract that I kind of drafted up for them to check out. And I've been speaking with the committee as well as with Assistant Chief Muhammad and with Chief Fulford, heavy, and they're heavy supporters in what I'm trying to do. And so I really want to start, again, I want to just recap, and I can just start where Assistant Chief Muhammad left off. They're understaffed, and as a community, and having a background working and having the experience at the police department, the community is going to require a lot of you. And you're going to have to utilize the resources you have and not make excuses, you know, because this is something that you signed up for at the time that you did it. And you're going to have times like any other profession or job that things are going to be difficult. And one of the things that I wanted to let you know that the change is difficult, but not changing is going to be fatal. So within what I presented, some of the things that I wanted to do is create a relationship, like Council President Young stated. Create a relationship with the community, create a relationship with city government, create a relationship with the police department. And what this is going to do is it's going to alleviate stress. Earlier there was a press release where the mayor I took a couple notes on some things that he said, and he was right. A lot of the issues that we have can be it can be non-existent with communication, and not just communication, but with comprehension. And so the mayor, he said he's not out there cutting the grass, but he's making sure that the people that he has in place are. That holds true across the board. He doesn't have the time to do that. You know, the council doesn't have time to go out and do some of the things that the public needs them to do. And so, because I have experience with the police department, I reached out to the chief and I reached out to the assistant chief, and we sat down several times and we talked about it, and they were on board to alleviate some of these things. Have a liaison, which that's something that I did before under Chief Collier when he was here as a public information officer, as a recruiter with the police department. Even in Councilwoman Janie Thomas's ward, set up neighborhood watches in her ward and held and conducted meetings where a lot of the people, they're still in their ward doing that. Currently in Ward 1, which I reside, we're setting up a neighborhood watch. And these things are not new. They just fell to the wayside because of the resources and the personnel. You know, they're just not there right now. And a lot of times we get frustrated because, you know, people say be patient, which we don't have a choice if we don't have the resources to make things happen. And so what I propose to the community, as well as to the council, the mayor, the police department, which I have already spoken with the police department, is come in and have those town hall meetings that the mayor kind of spoke about. In a setting like this is a business setting where the council need to conduct business. Not everyone's gonna come to the chambers. Let's go out into the community and have one of the pastors open up their church for the community to come in and get those ideas and those concerns that the citizens have, and let them voice their concerns. And when everybody disperses and leaves and goes their own separate way, nobody has any hurt feelings, because you've got out what you need, and the proper people are there. Department heads or the chief of police or assistant chief or whomever is there to take those notes and bring back to make adjustments as they see fit for the betterment of the community. Again, I'm thinking about 3 components: mentoring, training, and focus groups. So training, you talk about a lot of new officers that are in the academy. These guys, they don't have the proper training. You have veteran officers of 10, 20, and 30 plus years that you heard about to retire or have retired. You're losing a lot of experience over the years. You're gonna have to have people that have the time to come in and train these individuals. And I put myself in this position because I didn't skip any steps. I was raised here. I received my education here. And I had my profession here. Not only that, once I left from that position, I became more engaged into the community. And that's why me. The mentoring, these officers that they talk about morale. You're gonna have low morale all the time in any organization because you just get tired, especially in law enforcement. You're out there dealing with, you have to be a minister, you have to be a mediator, you have to be someone's mom or someone, you have to be all these positions that you're not so-called qualified for, but because of your position as a law enforcement officer with the authority that you heard Chief Muhammad speak about, you have to put yourself in a position to make the hard decisions and not worry about the consequences. You have to rely on your training, and that's where the training comes in. In the time that I was there, those 8+ years, and just with the police academy and basic training over at Wallace, you have to do about 520 hours. Every year, you have to have 12 hours to keep your APO certification. You know, who is training? Why go into another city and get that training when you have the personnel right here to do that? That was some of the things, again, workshops, conflict resolution. You know, maybe Captain King wouldn't have had to come on the scene if, and I'm not pointing the finger, if one of our officers had the training, had been, familiar and well versed in conflict resolution, de-escalation. Mm-hmm. And the mayor mentioned a lot of these things. It shouldn't take our departmental heads away from doing business of the city or doing business of the city to come out and handle a situation that probably shouldn't have been a situation, and that all goes back to the training and the basics of what I'm talking about. So the contract is there. I'm free for questions of whatever you have. I didn't want to be long. Again, I just wanted to come back and let those who didn't come last time hear some of what I have. A lot of what can be done and a lot of what needs to be done is the accountability piece. Not only does the city government and public safety need to be accountable, as citizens, we have to be accountable. We have to hold our own, And so I'll leave you with that, and pending any questions, I'm gonna take my seat.
Yes, sir. Okay. Go ahead, Councilman James.
Good afternoon, Mr. Neal.
How you doing?
One person, I heard you state that, I know that you live in Ward 1, you said you did a neighborhood association together, White. Okay, so if we give you this contract, you will be able to set that up in each ward?
What I'm thinking about is there are 8 wards. You're gonna need and this goes back to my homework that you gave me last time. Every neighborhood and every ward should have a neighborhood watch set up. I don't know if anyone else is familiar, there's an app called Neighborhood. If you go on and put your address in it, it'll assign you, if it's already set up, it'll assign you a neighborhood if it's already set up. If not, someone has to go on a desktop and set it up. That's something that's very simple, but it's very necessary. and it's needed. So to answer your question, yes, every neighborhood, every ward would have that. That's a simple piece of what I'm talking about as far as neighborhood watch, but yes.
Any other questions? Council, I don't know if y'all remember, but when we were discussing the budget early on, I don't know if y'all remember, but I asked that we could hopefully set some funds aside for some type of community liaison or something like that to help, because we all know that we don't have enough police to police Selma. So we're thankful for the ones that we have. And like he was talking about with stress, and I knew of his abilities that he had as a former Selma police officer. And also, I've known him working with Councilwoman Thomas through the years, and I know his relationships with the people in this community. And so that's kind of what I was thinking of then. And fortunately, Mr. Neely has reached out to us now, and he has spoken to both chief and assistant chief and got their okay on it. He has created a document which I'm going to, if we approve, I'm going to give it over to the city attorney to allow him to properly look over it. I have not entered nor executed the contract, nor have I solicited the contract. The contract was given to me from Mr. Neal. And so I emailed it out. It has some details. Are there any questions that you have about Mr. Neely or this document that is before us?
I'd just like to say this, we do miss having our meetings. You know, Kobe came in, and we did have our neighborhood more involved in the community, where we had basis meetings where we did have an opportunity to invite our police officers out, and also Mr. Neely took a lot of time with the constituents in our neighborhood. You know, you have a lot of elders. He put in a lot of time, took them to the gun range, show them how to, you know, to use a gun, because they wanted to, you know, they had their weapons, and he took a lot of time and he educated them on a lot in our community about communication with your neighbor, looking out for when you leave home, he had everybody together, but right now, that is something that they're waiting on, to be able to come back and start having these neighborhood meetings and our ward meetings, so we can hear from the citizens, you know, people that represent the city of Selma, with our police officer telling us what we can do to help our community get back on the right track. And it was a good, what you did. Well, we missed it, and they keep asking me where you're at, and I told them you're going in a new direction right now. But it's good for the community, being connected, to know how to work together in that community.
Any other questions?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Okay, you say it will be possible to do in all wards. Can you just tell me how you plan on setting up those meetings in different wards? Would it be once a month at each, you know, Ward 1, then you go to Ward 2, or how would you do it?
So we're setting up neighborhood watch. I don't know if you're talking about the neighborhood watches, correct? Or town hall meetings or something like that?
Town hall meeting, neighborhood.
Well, that would come with working with city council. You know, I know you guys are already set or have events that you have throughout the year. And not only that, I mean, I will coordinate with you guys on that, but as far as setting it up, I want to communicate with you guys first to see, you know, what's convenient, because I want to have all hands on deck. I don't want to be a face out there, and the whoever the council person is not there. Even to have other people come, maybe the mayor, maybe you know, I feel strong in a lot of what Assistant Chief Muhammad said, and I'm gonna circle back to what you are talking about. You have to be very transparent when dealing with the community.
That's right.
I'm more prone to doing something if you kind of explain to me why. And you heard Assistant Chief Muhammad say that. Kind of tell me, you don't have time to always tell me, but kind of tell me why something is happening, why something is going on. Again, when that takes place, you get educated, we're able to have that dialogue with each other. And that's kind of what I want to bring to those ward meetings. And not only that, the council person is able to have questions or, answer questions that their constituents may have. I don't know if that answers your question. If not, I can try to do it a little better.
What I have seen in Ward 1, I've been to 2 meetings that you've been working with them on creating their Neighborhood Watch program. And what I've spoken to him, Councilwoman James, is I just put out, told him that I want every ward to have a Neighborhood Watch.
Yes.
Every ward in this city needs to have a functioning Neighborhood Watch Association. And additionally, what I see the benefit of Mr. Martinelli is improving the relationship between our police and our community that may help prevent some of these crimes that we're having. I grew up thinking the police are the good guys. I trust the police. Something goes bad, I go tell the police. We need kids, young people, everybody, citizens, knowing police are the good guys. Where if something's about to go down, maybe it won't go down if the police already know about it. So I envision a totally improved relationship, not saying that it's bad, but everything can be improved. And I want that relationship strong. And if we have strong neighborhoods, neighbors looking out for neighbors, that will prevent some of this stuff going on our streets. So yes, Councilwoman James, we're hoping to have a neighborhood watch in each one of our wards. And not just the name only, an actual functioning neighborhood watch, where stuff is actually going through the proper people. The trees and all that stuff that he explained to us on how they work, we want all of that. We want the app, we want all of that. So that's what I'm looking at. Any other questions? Go ahead.
And I think he would help set it up.
Yes.
But it
You
would
gotta
be,
manage it
right.
yourself.
Yes, you'll get it started.
And it's not hard.
And the point of the matter is, it's got to be, man, in order for it to be effective, the people have to buy into it.
That's right.
The neighborhood, the people in the neighborhood have to work it. He can't be in every neighborhood. Our police can't be in every neighborhood. So the neighborhoods have to run this, but he's gonna give them the foundation.
We have already, we have the app already in Ward 4.
Okay.
So the only thing we have to do is pretty much just have you there at one of the meetings, because
Okay.
we've already downloaded the app.
And that's good that you guys had. I give you kind of a short version of how that works. With a neighborhood watch, the first thing I'm thinking about is the avenues, 1st and 3rd, 4th, or 6th, or whatever. A ward is so large that it has one, you have captains, co-captain, you have coordinator, captain, a ward is so large, you have to break that down where 1st Avenue is responsible for 1st Avenue with 1 or 2 representatives, regardless of how long it is. You have a couple representatives for that avenue. 2nd Avenue is the same way. So if we're talking about 1st through 6th Avenue, we take a representative, because not everyone's going to want to come. If someone's breaking in on 2nd Avenue all the time and I'm on 6th, I don't care to come to a meeting to hear about somebody breaking in your house. And so you have a representative from each one of those streets to come and gather together and bring back information. Well, what is your avenue? What is your street saying? What's the problem over here? Or what do we need? And so you bring all of those together, and on that app, you're able to break down those subgroups.
And also, maybe it will be feasible and maybe this will help because even with that app, the app can be good and bad. Because it can let the person that's doing the crime know exactly what you're doing and where you at.
Well, that's why I said it's broken down into subgroups. If I can add, it specifically shows the outline of everyone's house. Additionally, it's like a group message in there. If you guys are all in the ward, I can add you all, and it's just us talking without the rest of the community. And so it's a lot of functions to it, and that's something that can go, be gone over in a workshop or a training or a ward meeting,
Okay. All right, Mr. Neely, thank you, sir. Okay, now, Other possible recommendations to the council. I know we have had several meetings. I know we had one meeting involving the cameras, where y'all had the presentations from the different cameras. So at our next work session, I recommend that we discuss what we do. We don't need to meet just to be meeting. We need to meet and make decisions. So at our next work session, we will discuss those presentations from each one of the companies that presented the proposals. And then at our next council meeting, we will vote either we're gonna go with one of them or not go with it at all. But it's time to clear that off of our agenda. The funds that can be used for those cameras can come from the combination of the oil lease funds, or as we found out at the American Rescue Plan meeting, we can actually use some of those proceeds, but we need to prioritize, and we'll talk with Ms. Wooten before we try to make any action like that, because she's working that plan out. But we would have some funding available for these cameras. Because while we know we do, the main problem is we don't have enough police officers, we still need to get some things to try to help in the meantime. And so cameras was one of the things that we need to talk about, and Councilman Carmichael asked me to remind you all about that. At the last Public Safety Committee meeting, Chief Fulford talked to us about that software, the spotter software, that when a shot takes place, it can identify the actual residents. That's another thing that we could, he gave the price tag was $700,000 then, but he was working, he's continuing to work on securing the funding for that through a grant. So we didn't get that, we didn't get a chance to hear from him on that, but we'll get an update from that. But also keep in mind, we might be able to get a grant from the state, from the American Rescue Plan money. We might be able to apply because of our high violent crime rate. We might be able to apply for that. So that's going to be a discussion. Are there any other items, recommendations that we need to bring up to the council about some things that we can do to help deter and cease some of this crime we got going on? Any other?
I think we went over a lot of information already, and a lot of the things that the assistant mentioned to us, we just need to take some of that into consideration.
Yeah.
And I know, we know that one thing is gonna fix our problem, but y'all, we gotta do something.
In a hurry.
Yep.
Hurry.
We got to.
I mean, literally, people are dying.
Because we hear the citizen of Selma, we hear their voices, we hear the community asking, looking at the legislative government body for public safety more. They want us to do what we need to do for public safety. Public safety is the #1 issue right now on us. And you constantly get calls. People want to hear what are we going to do to improve it here.
And it's not just calls we're getting at night anymore. We're hearing about things taking place in the middle of the day.
In the
early
daytime,
morning.
yes.
And so I agree, Councilwoman Thomas. So all of these items, we need to be prepared to take some form of action on that we'll discuss at work session. Is there any objection to recommending to the council that we discuss these items at our work session? Is there any objection in bringing that up? And so we will discuss at work session and hopefully be able to vote on some of these items, including this contract, and also those other things. And we're gonna get with Ms. Wooten too, to see what part of the American Rescue Plan funds, if any, can go towards public safety. Because I think at that meeting, the American Rescue Plan meeting, we talked about public safety, infrastructure, broadband. That was a big discussion. And also, with this broadband, IT.
IT
To
department.
get all that
Because
together.
our technique with the police department need to come up to the standard. We down. We need to,
Right.
it needs to be up better too.
Right,
That's #1.
that I agree. So,
And also, it just hit my head. Maybe we might need to talk with the mayor about this too, because if you ride at night, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, you see a lot of high school, elementary kids walking. We might have to put a curfew back in place for those young people because a lot of your crimes are coming from your young folks. And school is finished, school is out, and even when school get back in, I really think, when I was growing up, you weren't on no street at night. And maybe we need to put a curfew in place for our young people. They might not like it, but guys, this thing is serious now. I mean, you cannot ride to the store unless you see 5 or 6 kids walking the street. Where the parents at? Or who let their kids walk the street at night?
Well, I think all of us grew up
Yes.
when the street light.
You in the house when the street light come on.
It's a
You
new
got in the house.
generation now, you
You know.
saw it.
And so, but we've got to do what we can to protect our citizens.
Yeah.
We've got to do everything possible that we can come up with. So I think that's a good start. Anything else that we need to recommend to the council? Anything else? All right. Public, thank you. Oh, Ms. Wooten.
I just wanna say thank you, Ms. Wooten. You have a agenda that just won't wait for this weekend. I thank the Plan and Development Department for putting that together. That is an awesome event this weekend.
Thank you.
Everybody come out.
And remember what the police, assistant police chief talked about, but with fireworks,
Your guns.
and don't go shooting your gun in the air and all that, because it might not turn out well. So thank you, public, for coming. Yes, Ms. Wooten?
I do want to quickly mention the honor parade, because I know this was a public safety meeting, and that's specifically what that parade is for, to honor our police department, fire department, first responders, medical professionals. So, I really want to encourage the community to come out and support them and let them know we appreciate, the services that they provide.
Excellent, excellent. And thank you, Ms. Wooten, for that, for your work. There being no further business, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
See you later. You talk so much. I did not do my, I'm gonna do it.